medical martial law. And we don't want that to happen, na mabigla na naman ang mga members of this Congress that, ayan na naman, sila na naman ang masusunod pagdating ng pandemic. DOH na naman ang masusunod pagdating ng pandemic. Pag sinabi nyo na kulong kami, kulong kami. Lucky us, we are member of this Congress and we can attend the different hearings. Pero how about those unfortunate ordinary people who will be staying on their houses? Sasabog na naman ang mga utak nila, masisira na naman ang mga negosyo. You have to consult with the legislative branch of the government. Inform us about this pandemic treaty. Ano nakalagay din sa pandemic treaty? Are you free to tell us about this?
Your Honor, we have already submitted our report to the President. This is based also on one of our obligations and compliances as negotiator that we provide the report to the President. Insofar as the content of the pandemic agreement, anything that's in it still its negotiating status, so it may change from day to day. So that's the reason why at this point, if we state whatever is in the pandemic agreement, it may be changing as it goes. So considering that there is still yet no final consensus with regard to the pandemic agreement, it may change whatever is in it as of this date. Also, with regard to is also the worry with regard to the 1 year, it's rest assured that the pandemic agreement will really undergo the ratification process with the Senate. That's part of the also the not just with regard to the WHO Constitution, but also in compliance with our Constitution, that it must undergo the concurrence of the Senate.
Okay, so I'll be asking more questions in a while, but my co-chair wanted to ask some clarificatory questions.
Thank you, Chairman. So you were with the you were involved with in the international health regulation. Nung ginawa ito, yung lahat, no, including all the modifications and amendments, you were involved.
For the clarification of my participation po, I'm only involved during the drafting group, during the WHA, which actually mandates for us to finalize the package of amendments. But we have our Epidemiology Bureau as our focal point for the international health regulations, and they have been attending the working group of the international health regulations. As for the side of the legal, we're just there to guide them whether the mandate of the WGIHR remains within Article 21 of the WHO Constitution.
Attorney, do we have other resource persons here who are with you in participating with the international health regulation, or ikaw lang?
No, Your Honor. With your indulgence, we also have Director Althea de Guzman, the Epidemiology Bureau Director.
Yeah, this lady is raising her hand, so can you please tell us about it?
So, good afternoon, Chair, and to our representatives. I'm Dr. De Guzman. I'm amongst those who participated in the working group for IHR, but the Epidemiology Bureau was not alone there, sir. The country was also represented by participants from the Bureau of Quarantine, and eventually our legal service, as well as our Bureau for International Health Cooperation, sir.
Okay, what is the extent of your participation here? No, are you just observers, or you're allowed to debate or articulate or make some amendments to the international health regulation?
Sir, the participants during the WGIHR were allowed po to, we saw what were the amendments being negotiated on, and we were also the ones relaying the positions if there is a need from the country. We just like to relay throughout the...
Can you give us an example of the amendments that you made?
Sir,
the international health regulations? You have
Sir.
a copy there, right?
Yes, sir.
So you could be able to give me an example of the amendment that you made.
Sir, from the Philippines, we actually
Unless
did...
otherwise, you just participated and said, okay, yes.
Sir, we didn't
Eh,
have...
nangyayari niyan sa international thing natin, puro yes na lang tayo eh. I think we ought to be involved in that, isn't it?
Yes, we were actively involved,
So,
sir.
give
but
me an
from-
example of your amendment.
Sir, from the from our delegation, one of the principles po that we always parang fought for was to ensure that we maintain, number one, the principle of sovereignty, sir. So we ensured that the regulations po would say that it is by accordance with national law or it takes into consideration po ng ating local context.
So you have a copy of that, no?
Yes,
You have
sir.
the copy of the international health regulations. I have a copy of it, no?
Yes.
Can
Mr.
you
Chair.
just show me any paragraph or any kind of recommendation you made in this international health regulations?
Sir, let me just...
Can you read that to me here?
Sir, let me just pull up. I'll just get, I don't have the
Go ahead. I
full
want to
copy,
find
sir.
out. I want to find
But-
out. I
okay.
want to find out the extent of your participation.
Okay,
You
sir,
know, I want to find out if the Filipino delegation is not only a yes person here.
yes, sir. I think, sir, well, I'll just wait po for the copy if I can ask for the, ano. But, sir, another po that we did note is on Article 3 on principles, wherein the original IHR text, sir, did note following human dignity, respect for human dignity po. But we were also amongst those who supported the inclusion of the principles on equity
Yeah, I know.
and
I want you to
solidarity.
read to me the
Yes, sir.
amendment that you made. Basahin mo sa akin. Okay, so I'll find out that you are actually participating in the writing of the amendment.
We supported lang. Supported lang. Sir, let me just... I'm looking for that specific article I mentioned po. So, sir, on Article 3, Principles, it's the first paragraph wherein the original
Article 3
IHR...
principles.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
The original IHR text stated, the implementation of these regulations shall be with full respect for the dignity, human rights, and fundamental freedom of persons. So that's the original text, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
However, when our other delegates proposed the inclusion of principles on equity and solidarity, it's one of those that the Philippines support because we felt that it is important for us to be better prepared and be able to respond quickly, that we have equitable access to technology know-how, health products, and solidarity to ensure that not just one country but all countries are actually able to have the needed core capacities to say that we are more health secure.
The amendment here, in Article 3 principles.
Yes, sir.
Number 1, the amendment here on the implementation of these regulations
Yes, sir.
with full respect for the dignity and human rights is and shall promote equity and solidarity. Were you the ones that made the amendment?
Sir, we weren't the ones who proposed that amendment. But
You were
when
the
it
ones who
was
proposed it?
proposed, no, sir. We were, the Philippines was sent, the state party who proposed that amendment. But when that was proposed and presented po to the working group, we were amongst those who supported po that amendment.
Let me ask, how many were the participants there?
Sir,
All together.
Sir, all state parties.
All state parties, so ibig sabihin,
almost 200
daan
po.
yan.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Now, are these people aware of what happened in the Philippines during the pandemic time, where all of those 300,000 excess deaths happened? Are they aware of that?
I cannot answer, sir.
You
if they
cannot
were
answer.
aware
It
po.
means that you did not in any way make them aware of what happened in the Philippines during the pandemic.
Sir, I am unsure if they are fully aware, but I do remember that if there are informal sessions, we
I
do
think
relate
if you are keeping a data of that, I think it is your duty to make them aware, isn't it? Because how could you be able to make rules like this and amend it if, for example, like the World Health Organization is not even aware of the killing or of the deaths that happened during the pandemic? 300,000 deaths that happen, excess deaths that happen. How can you then make a very good proposal on this if they were not aware of what happened in the Philippines? I am sure it also happened in different countries. But of course, ang concern natin ang Pilipinas. But the thing is this, lahat tayo rito naniniwala that we have more than 300,000 excess deaths, whether they died because of the COVID or they died because of the vaccine. You know, hindi na pinag-uusapan niya. Na pinag-uusapan dito, we have a record of more than 300,000 excess deaths in the country during the pandemic period. I'm just asking you if you made them aware of that, because it must be the Filipino delegation that should make it aware, that should make the World Organization aware of what happened in this country.
Mr. Chair, as to the excess deaths, that is something that I am unsure if the delegations were not aware of. What we shared was the experience of the country and how we also had multiple spikes of cases, and how we also were challenged po in responding to the pandemic, especially at the start. And that is why the goal of the IHR is to strengthen those capacities po.
Pero ito lang, Director, you know what? Ang problema natin sa inyo, DOH, you're acting as professionals, di ba? You're not acting as people who are concerned for the plight of the Filipinos. Am I wrong or right?
Of course not, sir.
Of
We are
course
very
not. Of course
concerned
not. That
of
would be
plight of the
the best
Filipinos.
answer for it. Pero alam nyo, attorney, for example, director, you are all professionals. And I hope that you are not just acting like a lawyer or a doctor or patient, but you're acting also as one concern for the plight of the Filipinos. And I mean, itong hearing na ito, pinag-uusapan natin, yung dami ng napatay. This is not only a concern of the Committee on Public Order, but a concern of the Committee on Human Rights. So, may data kayo nito, di ba? I mean, for several hearings, we have been talking about the data. Are you keeping a data of this? Do you have a complete data of this? Hindi nyo nga kami masagot on your complete data on this. Oo. Ngayon, ang tanong ko ganito. Napakasimple ng tanong ko. Alright? Does the World Health Organization aware of this excess deaths that happened in the Philippines during the pandemic time? That's my question. And the very people that should make them aware of that are, of course, the Filipino delegation, who are participants. You are not just observers. You are participants. Therefore, you have the right to speak for the Philippines. For the Philippines. Am I right? You have the right to speak for the Philippines. Am I right? Yes or no? All right. So therefore, you are not just there to make amendments. You are there to make them aware of what has happened in this country during the pandemic period.
Okay, thank you so much. Medyo puso mo. Kasi siya ang committee ng on human rights, no? And there are claims, no? A lot of groups are writing us a letter asking the justice on them because in their allegation, their rights have been violated. You are a lawyer, attorney, and we all know that it was an extraordinary thing that happened during the COVID-19 pandemic. We were all caught. Surprisingly, di ba? Because hindi natin alam ano nga Nobel nga eh. But come to think of it, yung pandemic nangyayari yan 50 years. 100 years, ang last na nalalaman natin yung flu, di ba? Spanish flu. Oh. Tapos ngayon, sasabihin nila, TED, WHO, prepare for the next pandemic. Prepare for the next virus. As if they are already conditioning the minds of our people in the whole world. that a next pandemic is about to come. And that's the reason why the period of amendments were reduced from 18 months to 10 months. And the period of ratification from 2 years to 1 year. Kasi they wanted to, to paikliin eh. O tapos, ayan na naman, sinabi ni Biden, prepare for the next virus. Di ba? And a lot of those people on the global elites are saying that ayan na, meron na. At tayo naman, na-amend na yung international health regulation, okay na yung amendment, so tapos na yon. So ngayon, ratification na ng pandemic treaty ang kanilang tinatrabaho para na sa ganun, meron ng protocol on the next pandemic. We, in the Congress, we just have to be prepared. Especially kapag yung human rights na ang nababiolate. For example, yung lockdowns, di ba? Forced vaccination. We don't want that to happen again. Okay yung mga taong gusto magpabaksin. Ay, halimbawa, pupunta ka ng mga malls, pupunta ka ng school, hindi ka bibigyan ng vaccine. We know the rights of those vaccinated. Ako, vaccinated ako. Gusto ko siyempre, lahat ng mga kasama ko vaccinated din. But their rights to their own health is their prerogative. Problema nila yun. Hindi na natin problema yun. So, don't force our people to get vaccinated. Sana. Diba? So, the government should create a new protocol that will protect both rights of those who wanted to be vaccinated and those who do not want to be vaccinated.
Not only that, Mr. Chair, I also would like to raise the issue na yung debt na ito, more than 90% of that, no? Alam ko, hindi issue to sa DOH, more than 90% of that ng mga debt na yan have been, anong tawag doon, yung cremated. Cremated to. Now, when I was talking to one hospital and one director, anong sabi niya sa akin? Wala na po kaming authority dyan. It now becomes the authority of the funeral parlors. If they will cremate the death because of the COVID thing. Pero doon sa Chile, Mr. Chair, hindi naman kinikremate yung mga tao, nililibing pa rin eh. Alright, why do we have, katulad ng lockdown why should there be cremation always sa lahat ng mga pasyente? Mayaman yan o mahirap? Kinikremate yan. Wala kayong pagpipilian. It means this, that our religious convictions have even been violated. Because there are religions here, like the Baptist Church, that do not believe in cremation. Still, kahit na hindi na kami nanalo sa cremation, it still kinikremate ang mga tao. Is that not a human rights violation? Clearly, it is. Oh. Pero wala kami magawa doon. That's why I think, Mr. Chair, in the next hearing, we ought to invite some funeral owners here to find out why are they cremating and where did they get the rule that they should absolutely be cremated.
It's under the IATF rule. Actually, kung titingnan ko, hindi ko na mabasa dito, pero yung mga guidelines that was followed by the different sectors on the COVID approach was based on the different resolution, the IATF. At sa IATF, sino ba chairman doon? During that time, si Berger. Anong role ni Berger? Berger. Ano ba role ni Berger?
You used to be the acting.
Your Honor, during the IATF...
Never acting siya noon, acting.
Initially po, she's the spokesperson. Then, when we do not have yet the Secretary of Health, she was appointed as officer in charge of the department.
Sige, let's invite her on the next hearing.
Yes. Hindi naman siya overacting.
Saka I think, si Secretary Duque also.
Yes, Mr. Chair,
Sa IATF sila
I move that we invite the persons that have been mentioned and funeral parlors, Mr. Chair. We ought to invite them to come to shed light on this issue.
Okay, so we will be, the COMSEC is hereby directed to invite those persons and also the siguro may mga association yan ng different ang tawag doon? Funeral parlors. May mga? Hindi, it's under also the DOH. Siguro we will be asking also the a unit under the DOH who are implementing doon sa issuance ng cremation ng mga different funeral parlors kasi yung order no nanggaling naman sa IATF sa DOH di ba?
ATF ba?
Initially, I think we have a guidelines po with regard to disposal of dead persons, especially for infectious diseases. We followed that as well, but not just necessarily just cremation. There is a certain number of feet that is required and the sealing of the casket.
Okay.
I think we ought to invite Mr. Chair, General Valdez on this because he is the head of the IATF.
General
Valdez ba yun? General Valdez ba? Galvez.
Galvez, si General Galvez also. And also, sino pa ba yan? Sige, we will be inviting over the other personalities. Siguro, let's ask those mga victims, Sinong personality who wanted to speak on the behalf of the yung mga victims? Andito rin si Miss Godo, si Ma'am Dalmacion, You are an epidemiologist. Sige. Nabubulol na po ako
I'm a
sa gutom.
pharmacoepidemiologist, sir, and a former chair of the Department of Pharmacology and Toxicology of the UP.
Sa sa pharmacovigilance?
I used to head the NADRAC, which was one
Sa NADRAC is
BFAD,
about the
National Adverse Drug Reaction Committee.
ito yung mga adverse effect.
Opo, pero yun po BFAD pa ang tawag sa kanya.
So,
Ngayon
dati BFAD.
FDA na po.
So in other words, alam niyo yung mga pumapasok doon ng mga complaints about doon sa adverse effect nung after immunization.
Iba po yung program sa after immunization and the drug. Pero basically the same on reporting, it's passive. And I found out that if you have passive reporting, the reporting is not so reliable.
Wait. What are you saying? That all the report coming out from the pharmacovigilance are not reliable? Why?
So hindi I take that word reliable back. Hindi siya spontaneous po siya. Kaya there is a chance of underreporting.
So in other words, there was like a 113,000 adverse effects that was recorded by the pharmacovigilance. So in other words,
Hindi ko po alam kung, sir,
it was established. It was established in the previous hearings that there were 113,000 adverse effects after immunization.
Opo.
So you were saying now that hindi siya ganun ka-accurate because of what?
Hindi po siya accurate in terms of the number of reports because it is spontaneous and voluntary. So, pwedeng underreported. May mga taong hindi magre-report dahil natatakot, hindi alam saan magre-report, at paano mag-report. It has to be initiated by FDA.
Maganda yan medyo ngayon ko lang nalaman yan because dyan nagsisimula yung mga nagko-complain sa atin ng mga victims na according to them that they have yung human rights were violated. So ang tanong sa DOH, how reliable is our pharmacovigilance is considering that you have reported to us in this committee 113,000 people who have experienced adverse reaction after no immunization. Pero yung serious doon, yung mga namatay, I think it's like 3,000 something or 6,000. So, can you kindly tell us yung sinasabi ni Miss Dalmacion? Being a part of the, part din po kayo ng dating Part po ba kayo ng DOH dati?
Hindi po. Disclaimer po, ako ay member ng Board of Medicine ng PRC sa ngayon.
Board of Medicine.
I retired from UP already.
Doktor po kayo?
Opo.
Ay, doktora po kayo. Sige. Anybody from DOH? Hindi yung
Good afternoon, Your Honor. I would like to let our technical person, Mark, to explain the pharmaco of FDA now. Thank you.
sino si Mark? Mark, please. Sige, please answer.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me... Sorry. So for the reports of underreporting, I think during the surveillance, actually the WHO recommendation is to have at least 10 reports per 100,000 doses administered. In our data that we captured during the AFI surveillance, actually we have 62.33 reports per 100,000 doses administered. So this is an indication that our surveillance system is actually working.
Anong ibig sabihin ng working? Nagbigay ka ng percentage, di ba?
Yes.
Ilan ang percentage?
Actually, it's an indicator po. The indicator is at least 10 reports.
So, for example, like 100 that have been vaccinated, okay, ilang porsyento ang effective doon?
Yes, po. The indicator po is, Mr. Chair, is 100,000 doses administered. So there should be at least 10 reports per 100,000 doses that is administered.
Oh.
And during the surveillance...
Is that your standard? Ano ba yung standard nyo? Ano ba yung standard nyo na effective yung immunization na yan? Ano yung standard?
Yes po, it must be at least 10. So,
At least 10 what? Percent?
10 reports per
10
100,000 doses.
10 reports per 100,000
Yes, Mr. Chair.
doses.
Yes.
Di ba ang liit nun?
But that is the indicators po. Actually, that
Is
we are using.
that is only 0.0001. Is that your standard? To be able to find out
It's
that...
actually an international...
I'm still speaking.
Sorry.
To be able to find out that the vaccinations are successful, 0.0001.
Mr. Chair, that is the indicator is coming from the international po. It's actually from the WHO.
Why do we always have to follow the international thing? When magkaiba itong ating nangyayari sa Pilipinas, why don't we have our own rules? Why do we have to follow the international rule? Why don't we have our own rules? DOH kayo eh. IATF. Bakit hindi tayo? Hindi, bawal ba yun? Gusto ko lang malaman, bawal ba tayo magkaroon ng sariling rules? Bawal ba? I think, are we going to be penalized if we do not follow the international rule? Or we could be able to have our own rule?
So we could have, Mr. Chair, but actually the indicator that we are using is actually used by almost all of...
Kahit na, I don't care about if almost all is being used. Ang pinag-uusapan natin dito, ang mga Pilipino ang namamatay. Alright. Kung ang Pilipino ang mga namamatay na ganun karami, ang pinag-uusapan, excess deaths eh. Ang pinag-uusapan natin, why don't we have our own rules as far as the standard of is concerned concerning the success of the vaccination? Di ba? Tama ba ako ron? Pero may pagbabawal ba? Pinagbabawal ba ng World Health Organization na magkaroon tayo ng sariling rule on that? Pinagbabawal ba nila? Is the World Health Organization now is the most sovereign among countries? And therefore, kung natin susunod yung World Health Organization, walang kwentang bansa tayo?
You can reply, please.
Mr. Chair, it's not required naman po.
It's not
Ayun
mandatory.
Not mandatory.
Kasi nga,
pala eh.
yun lagi kasi sila kasi recommendatory. Recommendatory, so not mandatory. Unfortunately, lahat ng dikta sa atin ng WHO, sinusunod natin talaga. Yan ang problem to the detriment of the Filipino people. Like for example, yung protocol nung lockdown, sino ba nasunod? WHO. Yung mga template ng ating IATF ng mga resolutions, it's all coming from the WHO that will be approved the executive department. Yun ang sinasabi po namin sana ngayon. Dapat sana po, maiba na po yung protocol. Hindi na po sana katulad nung dati that we are forced to follow yung mga sinasabi ng WHO. Correct din naman si Congressman Abante that we need to have our own rules. Unless otherwise, that will be sanctioned by the WHO. And who is behind the WHO? The big states that is financing the WHO. Doon ba tayo natatakot because we will be sanctioned with the different sector. Like for example, hindi tayo pautangin o hindi pa tayo bibigyan ng mga aid, hindi tayo bibigyan ng mga donations. Those are the repercussions na nakikita natin that if ever that the different states will not follow, especially poor countries, will be sanctioned. Kaya ngayon ginagawa nila, okay, recommendatory kami. O ito, bigay nyo. O ito, gawin yung mga batas. Ito, gawin yung mga recommendation. So tayo naman, sunod. And that's the reason why I can feel the feelings of Congressman Abante that sana magkaroon tayo ng sariling stand natin because we have experienced that excess deaths. Sobrang kamatayan yung inabot natin. But again, this was experienced